Hello, my dear students. How are you all? I hope you are fine and keeping fine and staying healthy at home. Please follow all the hygienic measures to control COVID-19. As you know that learning is a continuous process, let us continue learning being at home itself. So today's topic is chapter 1, reproduction in organisms. And you know that it is already the half of the portion is completed in our earlier classes. Hope you all remembering that and you have recalled all the concepts what is taught in the class. So in the first chapter, it's a simple chapter which involves which includes two topics, that is sexual reproduction as well as asexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, you have studied that it is found in the primitive group of plants and animals. And we also understood the types, and with the examples we have learned that completely. So let us move on to the next topic, that is sexual reproduction in organisms. So sexual reproduction is a type of reproduction found in higher group of plants and animals. Before that, students, please note all the important top points what is explained here, and after the class, please go through the textbook completely and clear the concepts and be concentrated. Here, the sexual reproduction, it's a formation of male and female gametes which are produced individually by different organisms. So let me tell you the process of sexual reproduction. You are familiar with this, that is, it's a formation of male and female gametes. So consider this is a female and this is a male gamete. The formation of male gamete, then fusion of the formation of male and female gametes, later it fused to form zygote. Then zygote develops to form a new organisms. So by seeing this, we can understand that the sexual reproduction is a complex, elaborate and slow process. So we'll see now what is sexual reproduction. It is a formation of male and female gametes produced by the different individuals of the opposite sex. So once the gametes are formed, then it's fused and forms a new organism. So since it includes series of steps and process, we say that sexual reproduction is a complex, elaborate and slow process. Now you can recall that we have learned the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. By the time we have understood that sexual reproduction brings variation among the organisms. How? You will be remembering that the sexual reproduction produces offsprings that are not identical to the parents as well as to themselves. The reason is that it involves the reduction division, meiosis, which brings variation. And this sexual reproduction is essential for the organisms to survive better in the environment. Okay, so this is about the sexual reproduction. Now, let us study now the sexual reproduction in various organisms. In your 11th class, you have understood that diverse group of organisms are there on our earth, and these group of organisms vary among themselves with respect to their morphology, internal structure, and internal physiology. But with respect to sexual reproduction, they share a similar pattern. So we'll see in detail about that. Sexual reproduction in diverse group of organisms. Before attaining the maturity, or if the organism has to attain the reproductive maturity, they have to undergo with a series of development. Like they have to pass the different phases of the lifespan. So there are 3 phases are there during a life of an organism to attain the reproductive maturity. So what are those 3 phases in the life of an organism? So there are 3 phases are there, that they are juvenile phase, then reproductive phase, third one is a senescent phase. So let us start with the juvenile phase. Juvenile phase is a period of growth and maturity. Do you know that the juvenile phase is known as vegetative phase in case of plants? So juvenile phase, or what is it also called as? It is called as vegetative phase. Where it is called as vegetative phase, in case of plants, it is called as vegetative phase. So in the juvenile phase, what are the changes we can see in the life of an organism? So this juvenile phase, the duration varies among organisms. So for example, the duration of juvenile phase among animals, okay? So among animals or among humans, it may vary up to 13 to 15 or 16 years. Whereas, for example, in plants, if I take the example of mango, this juvenile phase can vary up to 3 to 6 years. So during this juvenile phase, or during the vegetative phase of an plant, we can see the changes like emergence of new leaves or increase in the stem height. Likewise, in animals also, mainly the increase in the height is a main characteristic feature of this juvenile phase. And juvenile phase ends with the flowering. Once the plant starts flowering, that will be the end of the juvenile phase. So we'll go to the next phase, that is reproductive phase. The end of the juvenile phase marks the beginning of reproductive phase. Marks the beginning of reproductive phase. First, we'll see the reproductive phase in plants. Later, we'll go study about the animals. So, in plants, the reproductive phase starts with the flowering. So, this flowering or the duration of this reproductive phase also varies in different organisms. And this flowering period also varies among different plants. Let us take some example of plants and we'll find out the flowering period. For example, 1. Marigold, then rice, third one wheat, fourth one mango, and fifth one it is coconut. So what will be the flowering period for all these plants? You know, marigold, it flowers within 3 months. Rice and wheat, you know that within 1 year it produces seeds and dies. So it completes its lifespan during 1 year. That means during 1 year it has completed all the 3 phases of its life. So rice and wheat, its flowering period is 1 year. Then mango and coconut, the flowering period lasts up to 3 to 6 years. Within 3 years or 6 years, it will start to produce the flowers. Now you can recall what you have studied in your previous classes, that plants are grouped as annual, biennial, perennial, etc. So this is how the flowering duration or period varies among different plants. Likewise, you can also collect some of the examples of plants which is locally available in your surrounding and find out their flowering period. Now let us see some special cases in the flowering period. So some of the plants flower more than once in a year, or they may flower repeatedly. So what is that interval between the flowering period is called as? Is it a juvenile phase or mature phase? What will you call it as? If a plant produces flowers in many years, like they will keep on producing the flowers, but there will be gap will be there. So what is that interval between this flowering period is called as? Yes, it is called as juvenile phase itself. It is not a mature phase. That period is the juvenile phase itself. Now let us talk about some of the seasonal fruits. And this is a season, I know that all of you like to be at home, because now plenty of availability of seasonal fruits like mango and jackfruit will be there. So, but these fruits are not available throughout the year. What will be the reason? Because some of the plants will not flower throughout the year. They will flower or they will produce the fruits only in their particular season. And there are some interesting phenomenon can be observed in the flowering pattern in the plants. That is 2 cases we will see now. One of the case is very interesting. That is in case of bamboo. You heard of bamboo species, right? So this bamboo species will live up to 50 to 100 years, and then they will produce a flower. They'll produce a flower and produce a large number of fruits, and they will die. So this is one phenomenon found in the plants with respect to the flowering period, which is seen during the reproductive phase of a plant. So bamboo species can live up to 50 to 100 years, and within this time, once they start producing flowers and produce large number of fruits, they will die. Next, another interesting phenomena is found in a particular plant which is called as Neelakurunji, or its scientific name is Strobilanthes kunthiana. So make a note of this. You can expect a question for 1 mark. What is the scientific name of Neelakurunchi, or name a flower which flowers for once in 12 years. So I hope you have understood what is the speciality of this flower. So this flower, this is found in the hilly areas of southern India, like in Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, which flowers once in 12 years. So what is the speciality of this? These flowers produce flowers once in 12 years. So once they start flowering, they will transform whole hilly areas into blue stretches, which attracts a lot of people. And recently, can you say when was the last bloom was happened? The last bloom was in July 2008. Last bloom was in July 2008. So calculate and find out when will be the next bloom and try to visit that place during that period. So this is about the reproductive phase in plants. Okay, so remember the scientific name of Neelakurunchi, which can be asked for 1 mark. What is the scientific name of flower? You can expect like this: name a flower which flowers in once in 12 years, or what scientific name of Neelakurunchi, which flowers once in 12 years. Now we'll move on to the next topic, that's the reproductive phase in animals. In animals, the reproductive phase involves lot of morphological and physiological changes. Okay, we will see in animals what is the changes happens during the reproductive phase in animals. The end of the juvenile phase. Later, it starts with the beginning of the reproductive phase. In animals, there are a lot of changes can be observed when an animal attains the reproductive maturity. So, you will study in detail about the secondary growth and what are the changes associated in the body during a development when a human being or any animal attains the sexual maturity. So find out what are the characteristic features observed during the secondary growth. So what are the changes we can find out? There are a lot of changes, morphologically and physiologically changes can also be observed. Based on the reproducing nature, the animals are grouped into egg-laying animal, and some of the animal will give birth to the young ones. They are called as placental animals. So animals can reproduce either by laying eggs or giving birth to the offsprings. Placental animals. Let us talk about the egg-laying animals. We know that birds lay eggs, right? But do these birds lay eggs throughout the year? No. Birds will lay eggs only seasonally, preferably in the early spring up to the mid-summer. Now you may ask a question that, birds in poultry farm lays egg throughout the year. How? But it is not a natural reproductive process. It is the commercial exploitation of birds for the human welfare. So it is, but in nature, birds will lay eggs only seasonally. Okay. Now what about the placental animals? So in the case of placental animals, once they attains the secondary growth, or we can say that once they attains the reproductive capacity, they undergoes a cyclical changes in their ovaries, which is known as menstrual cycle. And this menstrual cycle, in case of non-primates, it is called as estrous cycle. So now let me tell you what is the difference between primates and non-primates. You all studied that mammals. Mammals belongs to which order? They belongs to order Primata. This Primata has two subdivisions, that is non-primates and primates. Non-primates includes the lower primitive group of animals, mammals, which do not have a well-developed brain like primates. So it includes cow, sheep, goat, tiger, etc. Then primates includes monkeys, apes, and human beings. So here, in the case of primates, the cyclical changes which occurs during their sexual reproduction, or during when they attains reproductive maturity, it is called as menstrual cycle. Whereas in case of non-primates, that cyclical changes is known as estrous cycle. Let us study now the differences between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle in detail. Hope you got cleared about this much. Okay, now what I am going to tell you about these differences between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle can be asked for the exam for 2 or 3 marks. So differences between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. One point already I have told you, it is found in primates, it is found in non-primates at that point. So next point, it is the menstrual cycle, or this group of animals are called as continuous breeders. Whereas this group of animals, they are called as seasonal breeders. Can you say why they are called as seasonal breeders, but they are called as continuous breeders? Yes, the reason is that the primates, right? So I'll write here, it is found in primates. It is found in non-primates. So primates will be reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase. Why they are called as continuous breeders? They are reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase. Whereas non-primates like apes, monkey, what are those? Their examples? The examples are cow, sheep, tiger, etc. They are active only at particular time of their particular time. They are reproductively active. They are reproductively active only at the particular time of their life period, that is during their favorable time, and it is that period is called as heat period. So menstrual cycle and estrous cycle can be asked for 2 or 3 marks. So just to go through that points once again. The menstrual cycle found in the group of primates, whereas estrous cycle is found in non-primates like cow, sheep, tiger, lion, etc. They are called as continuous breeders, but it is known as seasonal breeders. Why it is known as continuous breeders? Because they are reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase, but they are reproductively active only at a particular time of their reproductive phase, and that period is called as heat period.